सज्जनगढ़ के पहाड़ों में लगी आग आखिर वन विभाग के, जिला प्रशासन के और एयरफोर्स के संयुक्त प्रयासों में जो रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन हुआ उसके चलते आग पर काबू पाया जा सका। किस तरह से लगी आग और किस तरह से ऑपरेशन हुआ, देखिए हमारे साथ ये खास खबर।
उदयपुर के बायोलॉजिकल पार्क से सटे सज्जनगढ़ की पहाड़ियों पर लगी आग पर आखिर में 3 दिन में काबू पाया जा सका। जिस तरह से आप देख रहे हैं, आग से पूरे पहाड़ पर दावानल जैसा रूप दिख रहा था और प्रशासन ने बड़ी चुस्ती के साथ में इस अभियान को चुनौतीपूर्व लिया और एयरफोर्स, वन विभाग, जिला प्रशासन के संयुक्त प्रयास से आग पर काबू पाया जा सका। आप देख रहे हैं, ये एयरफोर्स का हेलीकॉप्टर झीलों से पानी भर रहा है और इस पानी को भर के ये उस पहाड़ियों पर ले गया जहाँ पर आग लगी हुई थी और बकेट के जरिए ये हेलीकॉप्टर उन पहाड़ियों तक पहुँचा है जहाँ पर आग दावानल के रूप में बढ़ती ही जा रही थी। काबू पाने में जिला प्रशासन, वन विभाग की यूं तो टीमें लगी हुई थी, लेकिन आग बढ़ती ही जा रही थी और आखिर में हेलीकॉप्टर उस स्थान पर पहुंचा जहां पर ये आग आगे से आगे बढ़ती जा रही थी। हेलीकॉप्टर के कई राउंड हुए जिसके जरिए उस आग के स्थान पर भारी मात्रा में पानी का छिड़काव हुआ और आग पर काबू पाया जा सका। आप देख रहे हैं, हेलीकॉप्टर से गिरी यह जलधारा आग के उसी स्थान पर गिरी है जहां पर ये आग लगी हुई थी। हेलीकॉप्टर ने कई राउंड किए। क्या स्थिति रही, जानिए जिला कलेक्टर ताराचंद मीणा व वन विभाग के अधिकारी अजीत उच्चई से।
ये सज्जनगढ़ जो हमारा अभ्यारण्य है वन्य जीवों का, उसके समीप की जो पहाड़ियाँ हैं उसमें परसों शाम को रात्रि के समय आग लगी थी और तत्समय वन विभाग के अधिकारियों ने उसको कंट्रोल में भी किया, लेकिन कल सुबह जल्दी सुबह पुनः मतलब आग तेज़ गति से फैलने लगी और हवा के कारण उसका जो फैलाव है वो अत्यधिक बढ़ गया था। वन्य जीवों की सुरक्षा को देखते हुए हमने हिंदुस्तान जिंक की, हमारे सिविल डिफेंस की और नगर निगम की बहुत सारी फायर ब्रिगेड्स वगैरह का मंगाकर और मैन पावर को मंगाकर उसको मैन्युअली कंट्रोल करने की कोशिश की और हमारी फायर लाइन के समीप हमने कंट्रोल भी की। लेकिन दूसरी ओर सज्जनगढ़ के दूसरी ओर जो बड़ी एरिया है उनकी पहाड़ियों में ऊंचाई पर आग और ज़्यादा फैलने लगी थी, तो इसको सुरक्षा को देखते हुए, चूँकि ये क्षेत्र शहर के समीप का है और वन्य जीवों की जो हमारा बायोलॉजिकल पार्क और वन्य जीव अभ्यारण्य है उनकी वन्य जीवों की सुरक्षा को देखते हुए हमने राज्य सरकार से हेलीकॉप्टर भेजने का निवेदन किया, जिस पर फलोदी से एयरफोर्स का हेलीकॉप्टर हमें प्राप्त हुआ और कल रात्रि संध्या काल के समय हमने कुछ ऑपरेशंस हेलीकॉप्टर के माध्यम से किए और आग को नियंत्रण करने की कोशिश की। लेकिन रात्रि होने के कारण उसको पूरी तरीके से हम कंट्रोल नहीं कर पाए थे। आज सुबह जल्दी ऑपरेशन करके और बड़ी और सज्जनगढ़ के गोरिल्ला गांव में जो आग लगी हुई थी उसको पूरी तरह हमने नियंत्रित कर लिया है। और वन्य जीवों को और शहर की सुरक्षा को देखते हुए हमें मतलब राज्य सरकार ने अविलंब जो ये हेलीकॉप्टर सुविधा उपलब्ध कराई, जिससे ये सब संभव हो पाया।
सर, अभी क्या स्थिति है? क्या कोई वन्य जीव इसमें दुर्घटना का शिकार हुए हैं, उसकी कोई जानकारी
नहीं, वन्य जीव तो कोई दुर्घटना का शिकार नहीं हुए, नहीं इसकी ऐसी कोई जानकारी है। और सामान्य प्रकृति ये रहती है वन्य जीव की कि जब कभी कोई फायर होती है तो वो आगे मूवमेंट करते हैं सुरक्षा की दृष्टि से। लेकिन अगर पूरे क्षेत्र में ही अगर आग लग जाए तो वन्य जीव आइदर तो सिटी में आएगा तो वो ऐसी नौबत ना आए, इसको दृष्टिगत रखते हुए हमने प्रिकॉशन के बतौर राज्य सरकार से रिक्वेस्ट करके और हेलीकॉप्टर की सेवाएं प्राप्त की।
सर अभी
पूरी तरह से नियंत्रण में।
I am Ajit Uchoy, presently posted as Deputy Conservator of Forest Wildlife. In the morning hours of 17 April, around 3 a.m., we received call from our fire watchers that a fire has occurred towards the gorilla side of Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. The Range Forest Officer, along with the other forest staff and Eco-Development Committee members, reached on the spot around 3:15 a.m. Fire service was also called at the spot to control the fire. Initially, the fire could be controlled with the help of forest staff, Eco-Development Committee and fire brigade. Around 9:30-10 a.m., the fire could be controlled at the downside of the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. Around 11 a.m., due to strong wind, the fire spreaded over the other hilltop of the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. I received a call around 11 a.m. that a fire has been. Around 11 a.m., I received a call from the forest range officer that the fire has spreaded to the other side of the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. So I reached the spot around 11:15 a.m. and I could see that 3 teams of forest fire team were involved, along with 3 vehicles of forest brigade were also involved in dousing the fire. But suddenly, due to high speed of the wind, the 3 teams which were involved in dousing of the fire, one at the Gorilla viewpoint, one at the Sajjangarh fort, and another at the Body Lake side. Due to high speed of the wind, around 12 p.m., the fire intensity was so high that it spreaded towards the other parts of the hill. Although fire service vehicle were involved and also around 50 staff were involved in dousing the fire, but due to strong wind and harsh condition of the weather, we could not control the fire on the spot and it spreaded towards the other parts of the sanctuary area. The intensity of the fire was so strong that few laborers of the Eco-Development Committees which were involved in dousing of the fire also got injured due to fire. The intensity of the fire was so high, and because of the high wind speed, the fire keeps spreading towards the other part of the sanctuary. It spreaded towards the Body Lake, and also it was at the top of the fire was at the top of the hills. Vehicle of the fire brigades were involved in dousing of the fire, plus around more than 20 staff, forest staff were involved in dousing of the fire towards the Gorilla side of the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. Seeing the fire condition on the spot in the morning of 18 April and the fire being uncontrollable, we sort of taking of help from the district administration and also from other organizations like Hindustan Zinc, DFO Udaipur and DFO Udaipur North. So at around 9 a.m. in the morning, I called up the collector of Udaipur and apprised him of the situation which has been occurring in Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. Around 9:15 a.m., the collector of Udaipur, Sri Tarachand Meena, came on the spot along with his team, and he took stock of the situation of fire incident happening in Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. Around 9:30 a.m., he talked with the Principal Secretary of National Disaster Management Jaipur and asked for the help of helicopter service in order to douse the fire, since the fire was becoming uncontrollable and the fire incident occurring near the village of Gorilla. So, and keeping in view the Sajjangarh Biological Park, we thought of requesting the Air Force for helicopter to douse the fire. Also, the teams from Hindustan Zinc, State Disaster Management Force, Civil Defense Force, staff from Udaipur Division and staff from Udaipur North Division were called in to control the fire in the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. Fire was becoming uncontrollable. We, Collector Sir, sent request for help of Air Force in order to dose of the fire. So around 10:30 a.m. in the morning, request was sent to Jaipur headquarters for provision of Air Force helicopter. All the necessary documents and process was followed, due process was followed for requisition of Air Force to dose of the fire. Around as a result of which fire service and also the staff involved in dousing of the fire could not reach the top of the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary due to difficult terrain and due to high intensity of wind. The fire was spreading very rapidly towards other parts of the sanctuary. Approximately around 200 hectares of forest area of the wildlife sanctuary has been engulfed in forest fire. This continued, the fire continued to spread towards the biological part. Since the fire was on the top of the hills, the staff could not reach. Also the fire brigade, which were stationed at the bottom of the sanctuary and near the gate of the biological park, could not reach the top of the hills and the fire could not be dosed. So it was a wait and watch from the staff and also the fire brigade. The staff, since our main focus was to protect the biological park, which was in the beneath of the wildlife sanctuary, 2 fire brigade vehicle and around 20 staff of the forest department and 10 staff of the fire brigade were stationed at the near the hospital area of the Sajjangarh Biological Park, so that whenever the fire crosses sanctuary area, if it approaches the biological park, so that it could be controlled in the spot. So by around midnight, around 1 to 2 a.m., due to good weather, the fire was dosed off towards the biological park. It was approximately around 800 meters from the biological park. The fire has stopped, and but towards the Badi side, the forest fire continued to rage, and it spreaded towards the other parts of the forest area. Fire were controlled towards the biological park around 2 to 3 a.m. But the staff were stationed in the biological park whole night. So around 5 a.m. in the morning of 18 April, I received call from the forest staff that the fire has again spreaded towards the gorilla side of the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. So I reached on the spot around 7 a.m. in the morning, and on reaching the spot, I could see that 2 brigades or 2 fire brigades of vehicle of the fire brigades were involved in dosing. We received information from the Ministry of Home Affairs that the request for Air Force helicopter has been sanctioned, and it will be reaching, flying off from Falodi station of Jodhpur. Meanwhile, the fire towards gorilla side was controlled by staff and all the civil defense and fire brigade involved in dousing of the fire. Around 1 p.m., approximately around 1 p.m., the fire towards gorilla side was completely controlled, but the fire towards Badi side was still raging on. So around 3 p.m., we received call from the Air Force that the Air Force has started towards Udaipur from Falodi station. So the Air Force reached around Udaipur around 4:30, and it did a sortie to take stock of the fire condition in Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary. So by 5 p.m. They completed the sortie, and around 6 p.m. in the evening of 18 April, the operation to dose of fire was started by the Air Force, and Collector Sir and me were personally involved, and we were also in the helicopter to guide them to dose of the fire. And around 6:15, the operation was started, and due to evening hours, only 2 sorties was conducted in the evening hours of 18 April. Due to dark hours, although more than 80% of the forest fire was controlled on 18, but due to weather condition, since it's being a night, we could not further proceed for controlling the forest fire. Although staff were sanctioned whole station on the spot, having a watch on the fire condition. So around 3-4 a.m. of 19 April, almost 90% of the fire were controlled. And again in the morning hours, I received call from the forest staff that maximum of the fire has been dozed off, and around 6:30 the fire air force again started their operation, and 2 sorties were conducted to douse off the fire. Also staff and fire brigade were involved in the morning hours of 19 April, and by around 9 a.m. in the morning the fire was completely dozed off in the Sajjangarh Wildlife Sanctuary.